presentation of a traffic study.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next case is BOA case number 2026-0013. Excuse me. Angela Stickle has applied for a critical area variance for 576 square feet of impacts to steep slopes, a general variance to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 10 feet, and a general variance to reduce the steep slopes from 10 feet to 0 for the construction of a 24 by 24 foot two-car detached garage. The subject property, 4730 Sherwood Avenue, Chesapeake Beach, tax map 019A, section 2, block 6, lot 7R of Breezy Point, is zoned waterfront community district, critical area limited development district. Madam Coordinator, you will address the public notice criteria, mark the exhibits, and swear in anyone wishing to testify. Please.
Public notice letters are mailed to the affected property owners on June 12, 2026. The legal notice was posted to the county website on June 12, 2026, and published in the Voice of Southern Maryland on June 16th and June 23rd, 2026. We have received the signed affidavit of signposting, therefore public notice criteria have been met. I have marked several exhibits and have provided a list of them. Applicant exhibits include the affidavit of signposting. Staff exhibits include the referral package, staff report, field photos, maps, and critical area commission comments. We did receive one letter of support in time, and that has been submitted and added to the agenda. I will now swear you both in. Are you the only two testifying?
Yes.
Can you both raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please speak into the microphone. Both of you state your name and address for the record.
Angela Stickle, 4730 Sherwood Avenue, Chesapeake Beach, Maryland, 20732.
Thank you.
William Stickle, 4730 Sherwood Avenue, Chesapeake Beach, Maryland.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if you could tell us in your own words what you're trying to do, and then go through the criteria that we have to address for approval.
Okay. Most of that is in this information here somewhere, but we are trying to build a 24 by 24 foot detached garage. My mom is unable to take care of herself now due to medical reasons, and my stepfather passed away unexpectedly a year ago. And so we need more space, bottom line. We're trying to build a detached garage so that we can make her, let her
Convert our attached garage into a living space,
for
like
her eventually.
ADA requirements.
I have a daycare in my basement, so our basement we can't use for living arrangements for her at all. And then our house is small and we're busting at the seams, and she's been independent her whole life until these medical issues came on, and we want to do it for her well-being, to give her a little space of her own.
Sure. Okay.
And that's basically, long story short.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the criteria?
I do. And all the criteria I commented on.
Oh, great. Okay. If you want to just share those.
Sure. So do I read those, or do you?
You don't have to repeat. You don't have to give the verbiage of what the criteria is. You just say how you meet it.
You just say what?
How you meet it.
Oh, okay. So C1A.
Perfect.
My family has been living in this house for almost 26 years. We put an in-ground pool in approximately 15 years ago, and in that time we were not in a critical area. We understand that boundaries have changed, and now our entire property falls into the critical area. So we realize that anything we can do to help my mom and adjust our changing circumstances as a family would require a variance. Without it, we won't be able to make the necessary changes and the much needed space for her to move in with us permanently and comfortably. We tried our best to make it work. However, now that she has been here for a bit, we realize we need space for her well-being and to be with us for her safety.
Okay.
So go on to C2.
Yeah,
Yep,
please.
Okay.
keep going.
The variance will not injure the public interest. With Ron's help, we are going to do whatever mitigation we are required to do. We are not trying to make the garage any bigger than what we feel is a necessity. We're trying to do the bare minimum. Matt King, who is our immediate neighbor with whom we share a driveway and our yards connect. We have spoken to Matt, and he is completely fine with our plan and so kindly sent a letter to the board. C3, if the variance is approved, it will not affect the Calvert County comprehensive plan. I have read that part of the comprehensive plan is to regulate land uses as part of the effort to promote the health and safety and quality of life for all Calvert County residents. My mom has been a Calvert County resident for more than 50 years, with the exception of a year and a half in Florida. My mom and stepdad were able to retire and move to Florida for a very short time. My mom fell ill in 2023, and we had to move both of them back to Calvert County. She endured multiple brain surgeries once they returned back to Maryland. My mom and stepdad bought a house in St. Leonard when they returned to Calvert County. Being here meant they had additional help from my sister and I. In May of 2025, my stepfather passed away unexpectedly. Therefore, we had to sell their house, and we moved Mom in with us because she's unable to live alone to safely live alone due to her cognitive and physical disabilities. C4. The requested variance is the minimum adjustment necessary to address my mother's needs. It will allow her to live safely with family due to her limitations while complying with the regulations as much as possible. C5, I understand that the regs require that the situation is not self-imposed, and I can absolutely confirm that the conditions leading to this request were not caused by my actions. The need for the variances come from factors outside of our control, such as existing property constraints or circumstances surrounding my family's needs.
Okay. Any questions on the variance criteria? Okay,
Keep going.
keep going.
Okay. Sorry, my voice is crackly because I'm nervous. C1. I already read this for,
You can just repeat the same thing.
just keep on reading even though
You
I
just refer back to what you said for the.
Okay.
the first one.
C1 again. My family has been living in this house for almost 26 years. We put in an in-ground pool in approximately 15 years ago, and at that time we were not in a critical area. We understand that boundaries have changed, and now our entire property falls into the critical area. So we realize that anything we can do to help our mom and adjust our changing circumstances as a family would require a variance. Without it, we won't be able to make the necessary changes and much needed space for her to move in with us permanently. We tried our best to make it work. However, now that she has been here for a bit, we realize we need space for her well-being and safety. C2, the variance will not injure the public interest. With Ron's help, we are going to do whatever mitigation we are required to do. We're not trying to make the garage any bigger than what we feel is a necessity. We are trying to do the bare minimum. Matt King, who is our immediate neighbor with whom we share a driveway and our yard connects. We have spoken to Matt, and he is completely fine with our plan and so kindly sent a letter to the board. C3, if the variance is approved, it will not affect the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan. I have read that part of the comprehensive plan is to regulate land uses as part of the effort to promote the health, safety, and quality of life for all Calvert County residents. My mom has been a Calvert County resident for more than 50 years. With the exception of a year and a half in Florida, my mom and stepdad were able to retire and move to Florida for a short period of time. My mom fell ill in 2023, and we had to move them back to Calvert County. She endured multiple brain surgeries once they returned. My mom and stepdad bought a house in St. Leonard when they returned to the county. Being here meant they had additional help for my sister and I. In May 2025, my stepfather passed away unexpectedly. Therefore, we had to sell their house and we moved Mom in with us because she's unable to live alone due to cognitive and physical disabilities. C4. The requested variance is the minimum adjustment necessary to address my mother's needs. It will allow her to live safely with family due to her limitations while complying with regulations as much as possible. C5, I understand that the regulations require that the situation is not self-imposed, and I can absolutely confirm that the conditions leading to this request were not caused by my actions. The need for the variances come from factors outside of our control, such as existing property constraints or the circumstances surrounding my family's needs. A, the variance request minimizes impacts to the critical area as much as possible. The variance is necessary to meet our family's needs, all while preserving the environmental purposes of the regulations. B1, because of the limited space available on our property in the critical area, there is no other practical location for the garage. Denying the variance would prevent a reasonable improvement to our property and could create an unwarranted hardship. B2, due to the limited space on our property, we have no other reasonable location to build the garage. Denying this variance would prevent us from making reasonable use of our property. I'm requesting the minimum variance necessary to build the garage. B3, we are not asking for any special privileges or anything extraordinary. We are simply asking for the opportunity to build the detached garage for extra storage on our property. We feel that this is a reasonable residential improvement. We are desperate for more space, which the attached garage will be used for storage. We hope to finish our attached garage for living space for my mom. B4, I understand that the regulations require that this situation is not self-imposed, and I can absolutely confirm that the conditions leading to this request were not caused by our actions. The need for the variances come from factors outside of our control, such as existing property constraints or the circumstances surrounding my family's needs. B5, our request is based entirely on the conditions of our property and the lack of any other location for the garage. It is not related to any neighboring property. B6, granting the variance would not affect water quality or impact fish, wildlife, or plant habitat within the jurisdiction's local critical area. The area we would like to build is in a small open area on our property. No trees, bushes, etc. We are approximately 8 blocks from the bay, so impacting water quality or fish is not a concern. B7, granting this variance would be consistent with intent of the Critical Area Law, Comar 27, Subtitle 01 in the Critical Area Program. We are requesting minimum relief necessary, it will be designed to minimize impacts to the critical area and will allow our property to meet our family's present and future needs while remaining consistent with the purpose of the regulations.
Very good job. Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
complete. Any questions from a member of the board?
Yes, I have a couple. One, the picture you have up there, is the garage going to go to the right of that?
Yes, to the right of the black car.
And where is your septic and drain field?
Up by the white fence, right on the outside of it.
So,
Yeah, so if you go past the garage, you go into the left where that fence is, it's probably 20 feet. And then the drain fields, we have 3 different locations. So yeah, the drain fields kind of come down on an angle.
so you're more or less putting this in because of where your septic and, excuse me, drain field.
Yeah, so we had to move it a little closer too.
That's all I had.
Mr. Scott? Anyone with questions? Anyone with testimony? Ron?
Board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Do they have to do any mitigation? I read in here that Culver County didn't require any mitigation. I didn't know whether the state is requiring any mitigation or not for conditions.
Ron Marnie, Land Management Division Chief.
Wait, just a second.
He was sworn in.
You were sworn in?
Yes, I was
Okay.
sworn in. Yes, there will be mitigation for the disturbance of the steep slopes. That's detailed in my referral information, but it's not extensive as their impacts are not extensive. So you'll have some projects where it can be quite a lot. You're just not going to see quite as much for this because they're just not doing as much.
I thought I saw somewhere in here that you weren't, you didn't have to put any mitigation in. I thought I saw there was no mitigation. I'm trying to find it.
To disturb steep slopes or buffer there, and you get a variance, there's 3-to-1 mitigation. So you may be seeing the first part of it, so there's different triggers for mitigation.
Okay.
In my comments, if I recall correctly, I don't have them right in front of me, but if I recall correctly, it's a grandfathered lot, and there is no mitigation for the grandfathered lot coverage because of the volume of forest canopy, the tree canopy that they have on the property. That I do believe is written in there, so I think that might have been what you had seen.
Okay.
So there is no mitigation for the grandfathered lot coverage or for tree canopy, but there is mitigation for the variance.
I just wanted to double check on that. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Ron. Any discussion by members of the board? What is the pleasure of the board?
I move that we close the case of BOA 2026-0013.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Briscoe moves, Mr. Clark seconds to close the record. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the record is closed. What is the pleasure of the board with regard to the 3 variances requested?
I'd like to make a motion that we go forward with the criteria.
Okay. Please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it had to be seconded.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The second after you make the motion.
Okay, the application for the variance to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 10 feet and reduce the steep slopes from 10 feet to 0 for the construction of a 24 by 24 2-car garage, detached garage at 4730 Sherwood Avenue, Chesapeake Beach, was filed pursuant to Article 30-6 of the 2025 Culver County zoning ordinance, which provides that the Board of Appeals shall have the authority to grant variances from the strict application of the lot area, lot width, setback, height requirements, and architectural design requirements of the ordinance, and grant variances from the other requirements as expressly authorized in this ordinance. Okay, on the particular and unusual practical difficulties of the unwarranted hardship, C1, due to the slopes and the shape of the lot, variance is necessary for you all to do that. For the detached garage, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board concludes that the peculiar and unusual practical difficulties or unwarranted hardships do exist on this parcel. Injury to the public interest. C2, granting the variance does not affect the public at all, and then you all got a letter from your neighbor and saying that, you know, what it was needed for.
Yeah, and he's the
everything.
one in the picture behind the shed.
Okay. Conclusion, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that the request variance will not result in any injury to the public interest. For the comprehensive plan, C3, because you have not have met your impervious implementation and what your grandfather into with Granting the variance does not affect the comprehensive plan. Minimum adjustment. C4, allowing the grading and reducing the setback is the minimum amount adjustment that you need to set back from 35 feet to 10 feet. And conclusion, based on these findings and fact, I move that the board conclude that the requested variance is the minimum adjustment necessary to afford relief for this regulation. Actions by the applicant, C5. The variance is required due to the nature of the slope and of the property and of the, where your septic and drain field are. And based on these findings and fact, I move that the board conclude that the requested variance is not based upon conditions or circumstances which are the result of action by the applicant. And the decision, finally, based on these findings and fact and conclusion and subject to the requirement of the applicant must successfully complete the Culver County permitting and inspection process, I move that the board grant the requested variance.
Okay, it's been moved to grant the requested variance. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Briscoe moves, Mr. Scott seconds. All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Okay, the required criteria for the critical area variance with COMAR, with the BOA 2026-0013, the application of the critical area variance to disturb 576 square feet of a steep slope at 4730 Sherwood Avenue, Chesapeake Beach, was filed in pursuit of Article 22-9 of the 2025 Culver County zoning ordinance, which provides that the board shall have the authority to grant variances from the critical area requirements within the ordinance unless otherwise stated. And peculiar and unusual practical difficulties, unwarranted hardship. I'm just going to repeat what I said earlier. Due to the slopes into the lot, into the shape of the lot, and the variance is necessary to fit for the detached garage. Based on these findings and fact, I move that the board conclude that the peculiar and unusual practical difficulties or unwarranted hardships do exist on this parcel. Injury to the public, C2, granting this variance will have no effect on the public interest, and he had a letter speaking in favor of it also. The conclusion, based on these findings and fact, I move that the board conclude that the request variance will not result in injury to the public interest. For the comprehensive plan, C3, because it has not met the impervious lot coverage, and granting this variance does not affect anything in the comprehensive plan. Let's see, conclusion, based on these findings and fact, I move that the board conclude that granting the request variance will not adversely affect the implementation of the comprehensive plan. Minimum adjustment, C4, allowing for the grading and reducing the setback is the minimum amount necessary for the from 35 feet to 10 feet for the 24 by 24
Yes.
detached garage. Based on these findings and fact, I move that the board conclude that the request variance is the minimum adjustment necessary to afford relief for the regulations. Actions by the applicant, C5. The variance is required because of the natural slope of the property to build the garage. Presumption and nonconformance with the general purpose of intent because of the location of the your existing septic and drain field. It seems like that's the only proposed place that you can really put the detached garage. Makes sense? Based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that the application have overcome the presumption that the specific development activities of which the variance is required does not conform with the general intent of the local jurisdiction program. Special conditions and circumstances of hardship, because of the slope and, like I said, the septic and everything like that, and the drain field and the critical area program, and that you would have to go along with whatever mitigation that might come along that you might have to do with the planning, whatever they have. Conclusion, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that due to the special features of the site and special conditions or circumstances peculiar to the applicant's land and structure, a literal enforcement of the local critical area program would result in unwarranted hardship to the applicant. Rights commonly enjoyed, B2. As previously stated, critical area program enforcement, the applicant wouldn't be able to build a garage without this variance. The conclusion, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that the literal interpretation of the local critical area program would deprive the applicant of the use of land with a structural permanent to others in accordance with the provisions of the local critical area program. Special privileges B3, granting this critical area program variance does not impose any special privileges at all. Conclusion, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that granting the variance would not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that would be denied by the local critical area program to other land structures in accordance with provisions of the critical area. Let's see, neighboring property, giving a letter of support from the letter that you got from your neighbor that there's no problem with you all building this detached garage. So, conclusion, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that the variance request does not arise from any conforming or non-conforming conditions on any neighboring property. Water quality and habitat, B6, because the affected disturbance and there's no forest area and the distance from the bay, that it would not really affect any wildlife or water quality. That would be a problem. Conclusion, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that granting the variance would not adversely affect water quality or adversely impact fish, wildlife, or plant habitat within the jurisdiction local critical area. Harmony with the general spirit and intent, being that there's no disturbance to the wildlife habitat and the water quality, and they're still within the impervious surface limits required, that no mitigation would be imposed unless the county makes you all do that. And on the neighboring property, granting the variance would be in harmony with the intent of the critical area program. Conclusion, based on these findings, in fact, I move that the board conclude that granting the variance would be in harmony with the general spirit and intent of the critical area law, the regulations in this subtitle, and the local critical area program. And decision, finally, based on these findings, in fact, and conclusion, I move that the board grant the request variance.
We have a motion to grant the requested critical area variance. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Briscoe moved, Mr. Clark seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
We just leave?
Our next case is case number, BOA case number